the rehearsal dinner was in full swing when Sandra Vance stepped out of the restroom, and her wedding planner was waiting.
Press play before you say I do.
A single AirPod touched her palm. Then a cold, familiar voice filled her ear. $5,000 to create a small problem at the ceremony. She walks down the aisle in silence.
That was him. My father-in-law. He's paying to humiliate me.
Sandra's fingers tightened on the AirPod until her knuckles whitened.
You needed to hear it before tomorrow.
Sandra handed the AirPod back without a word and walked toward the dining room, her spine rigid. She slid into her seat and lifted her champagne glass. Brian smiled, unaware. Richard lifted his glass too, a satisfied smile on his lips. But what she'd heard was only the beginning, and her wedding planner had made sure of it. 6 months earlier, at a garden engagement party draped in string lights, Sandra Vance believed she was finally safe.
To the happy couple, and to Sandra, defending those who can't afford a real lawyer. Admirable.
His smile never wavered, but the words landed with surgical precision.
Dad, she's a public defender. It's a respected, demanding job.
Respected in some circles, I am sure. But love bridges any gap. Isn't that right, Brian?
Across the garden, Sandra's mother set down her champagne glass, her expression tightening.
Don't flinch. Don't let him see. Just smile.
It's just his way. He's old-fashioned. Don't let it ruin tonight.
Old-fashioned? Or calculating? Why does he despise me before he even knows me?
That night, under the fairy lights, a seed was planted, but the full harvest would come later, in a hallway on an AirPod. Weeks later, in a sunlit boutique office, Sandra and Brian hired Pamela Cross to orchestrate their dream wedding.
A prenuptial agreement, of course. Simply common sense. No one marries expecting trouble, but family assets deserve protection.
Family assets. He means my family has none. Every word a scalpel.
And the guest list. Do trim it to real friends. Your mother's bridge club can gather at a diner.
Dad, that's enough. Sandra's family is welcome, all of them.
I only want what's best, son. Tensions surface in marriages over trivial things, like class differences.
Pamela sat silently, pen hovering over her clipboard. She'd seen difficult families before, but this hostility had a sharp, deliberate edge.
Brian, he's not going to stop, is he? This wedding is becoming a battlefield, and we haven't even sent the invitations.
He's my father. I can't just cut him out. But I won't let him ruin us. We'll get through this together.
But Pamela had already opened a private file on her laptop, labeled Vance Wedding, Notes. Something told her she'd need it. 1 month before the wedding, Sandra returned home early and halted at the study door. Richard's voice, unmistakable, leaked through the wood.
Her family's nothing, Brian. A public defender? It's a joke. You need someone who can stand beside you, not cling.
Every word a lit match. And Brian's silence. That was the gasoline.
The phone clicked dead. Brian stepped into the hallway and saw her face.
How long have you been letting him pour poison in your ear?
He calls me constantly. I push back, but he's relentless. I've tried to shield you.
Shielding isn't enough, Brian. He's dismantling me piece by piece, and you are letting him...
Number, I won't let him. I love you. That's the end of it.
Across town, Pamela clipped a body camera to her blazer inside the vacant venue. For liability, she reasoned, but her gut knew better. She'd been documenting tensions for weeks. Now she would leave nothing to chance. The day of the rehearsal dinner, the venue glowed under a pale winter sun. But inside the lobby, the air was already crackling. Sandra and Brian stepped inside, greeted by Pamela's professional calm. But within minutes, a black sedan pulled up, and Richard Vance emerged, all smiles.
Son, I was just telling the concierge. This is the place for a celebration. Nothing but the best for my boy.
Let's just get through tonight without any comments, Dad. Please.
Comments? I am your father. I am here to support you, and to make sure you are not making a mistake you'll regret.
From across the lobby, Sandra watched the exchange, her hands clenched at her sides.
He's not just disapproving, he's warning Brian. Today of all days.
Pamela materialized at Sandra's elbow, her voice low and steady.
I am ready for anything tonight. Just breathe.
As the guests trickled in for the rehearsal, the veneer of celebration barely masked a gathering storm. 2 hours before the dinner, Pamela rode the elevator to the 3rd floor, a velvet boutonniere box in her hand.
The wedding planner. Perfect timing. Come in. I've been wanting a private word. I have a business proposition. A small bit of creative direction for tomorrow's ceremony. $5,000 cash. To lose the music cue when Sandra walks the aisle. I want her to hear nothing but silence and doubt.
Don't react. Let him finish. The lens is rolling.
And an ongoing arrangement. 20,000 if you document any conflict between them. Help me protect my son from a mistake.
Pamela took the envelope of cash with steady fingers, her body camera capturing every word. She walked out of suite 312 without a word, and in the hallway allowed herself a single shaky breath.
It's Pamela. He offered cash to sabotage the ceremony. Yes, I have the recording. Meet me before the dinner.
By the time she hung up, the incriminating audio was saved in 2 clouds, and her attorney was already preparing a witness statement. The rehearsal dinner commenced under a canopy of warm chandeliers, but the candlelight couldn't soften the tension coiled at the table.
A toast to my son, who has always known what he deserves, and to his bride, who will learn that family loyalty is earned, not given.
He parades my outsider status like a trophy. And no one objects. Smile. Just smile.
Pamela stood at the back of the room, her eyes locked on Sandra's white-knuckled grip on her champagne stem.
So raise your glasses to a union, and to the clarity that only time can bring.
I can't let him see me bleed. Get up. Walk to the restroom. Breathe there.
That was beautiful, Dad, but let's keep it light. Tonight is about joy. Tonight is about joy.
Excuse me, I need a moment. Just the restroom.
As Sandra disappeared down the hallway, Pamela quietly set down her clipboard and followed. The AirPod, already loaded with Richard's final gambit, waited in her pocket. Sandra had no idea the truth was seconds away. Pamela caught her arm just outside the restroom. "Listen to the whole thing," she said, pressing the AirPod into her hand. Through the earpiece, Richard's voice unspooled. The bribe, the contempt, the reminder that he'd never accept her.
He didn't just want to embarrass me. He wanted to break this marriage before it started.
Sandra slid back into her seat with a smile that didn't move her eyes. Brian squeezed her hand, relieved she was back. Across the room, she caught Pamela's eye and gave a tiny, deliberate nod. The planner returned it, a silent pact sealed.
Tell Brian now. No. He'd confront his father tonight, and the rehearsal would shatter. Morning. I'll wait until morning.
The dinner wound down with forced laughter and clinking glasses. She embraced Brian goodnight outside his suite, letting him believe the rehearsal was a success. Alone in her bridal suite, she unzipped her dress and sat on the edge of the bed, her phone glowing with the audio file Pamela had sent. She pressed play and listened to the full 17 minutes. The cold calculation, the casual offer to spy on their first year of marriage.
Tomorrow, Brian will know everything. And then we decide what a man like Richard Vance truly deserves.
At dawn, Pamela entered with coffee and a grim look. She had more than encouragement to share.
My attorney says Richard's firm may already have complaints. This isn't just about your wedding.
He's done this before? Then we're not just protecting ourselves, we're stopping a monster.
They devised a strategy. Then Sandra stood, her jaw set, and walked out. She knocked on Brian's door. When he opened it, confusion crossed his face as she held up her phone. She hit play. Richard's recorded voice, the bribe, the contempt, filled the silent room. Brian's face went blank. He didn't move as the minutes crawled past. When the recording ended, he stared at the phone, his breath shallow.
Brian, that was your father. He paid to sabotage my walk down the aisle and offered to spy on us.
He said nothing. He stood frozen, fists clenching at his sides, but his eyes were wet. After a long, trembling pause, Brian walked out of the suite without a word, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. In the lobby, Richard was laughing with relatives near the fireplace, a champagne flute still in his hand. Brian strode toward him, his face pale and set. The hum of conversation died as guests sensed the storm.
You are not welcome at my wedding. Leave now, or I'll have you escorted.
What is this? Brian, you are being dramatic. We can talk about this later.
Here are your keys. Go. Don't come back.
Richard's face lost its smugness. He looked from the keys to his son's eyes and saw no flinch. He snatched the keys from Brian's hand and walked toward the exit, his back stiff with fury. The glass doors closed behind him, sealing his dismissal. The lobby fell silent, except for the ticking of the grandfather clock. When Brian returned, Sandra was waiting. He pulled her into a tight embrace, and she felt the tremor in his shoulders. 2 hours later, the garden ceremony began. Guests filled the chairs, murmuring about Richard's absence. Pamela cued the music. Sandra walked, veil lifting, her eyes forward. No silence, only triumph. At the altar, Brian's hand reached out. His eyes glistened, but he smiled.
I am sorry I didn't see. From now on, you are my only family.
I married you because you chose me. Not your father, me.
They exchanged rings with careful hands, a silent pact no one could break. When they kissed, the garden erupted. Joy, relief, and the taste of freedom. In the front row, one seat gaped like a wound. Pamela's body cam caught the moment. She stood at the back, her lips pressed in a thin line of satisfaction. She had done her job. The recessional played, not the silence Richard had bought, but a song of hard-won grace. A week later, on a quiet stretch of beach, Sandra and Brian finally let the silence stretch between them.
Brian, we can't just exile him from our wedding. He tried to destroy us. What about the others he's hurt?
I know. That recording isn't just about our wedding. It's evidence of something worse.
Back in their room, they opened a laptop and began drafting a formal complaint. The audio file, a damning attachment.
We need Pamela's attorney. She said there might be other complaints if we combine them. The firm can't ignore it.
Sandra dialed Pamela, the planner who had become their fiercest ally.
Pamela, we're ready. Give me your attorney's number. We're filing against Richard's firm.
I was hoping you'd call. The recording is sealed, and my attorney expects you. This is the right move.
That night, they signed the complaint. The honeymoon wasn't just rest, it was preparation for war. The sun rose on their last morning, and Brian looked at Sandra with something new in his eyes. Pride. A week after they returned, Sandra and Brian sat in a sparse attorney's office, the air thick with purpose.
We have the recording, the body cam footage, and a statement. We want to file a formal ethics complaint against Richard Vance.
The attorney nodded, sliding a thick envelope across the desk. Inside, the USB drive and a notarized affidavit. Within 2 days, the complaint landed at the banking firm's ethics office. The HR director paled as she listened to the audio. She shut her door and made a call. This wasn't a family squabble. This was institutional exposure. A week later, a former subordinate requested a meeting. Then, another. Both described years of verbal abuse and career sabotage. An investigator was assigned, pulling files, interviewing witnesses. Richard's name was stripped of its polish. Sandra received a call from the firm's legal counsel, asking for a formal witness statement. She agreed immediately.
Brian, they're taking it seriously. The pattern is too big to bury.
The investigation had only just begun. Richard's allies circled, but the evidence was airtight, and the real reckoning still lay ahead. 3 months passed. The investigation unearthed a decade of intimidation, verbal abuse, and career retaliation. Witness after witness confirmed a pattern Richard couldn't dismiss, but he tried.
This is a witch hunt. I've dedicated my life to this firm. They can't do this.
But the recording was irrefutable. His superiors called an emergency meeting.
I will not be pushed out by some vindictive girl and her scheming planner.
The lead executive slid a document across the table. Resign quietly or face public dismissal.
You'd believe them over me? After 30 years?
No one spoke. The silence was his answer. Richard's hands trembled as he signed. He left the boardroom a diminished man, his career ending not with applause but in stifled silence. By evening, he was clearing his office into a single cardboard box, his nameplate buried among forgotten trophies. A week later, Sandra's phone rang. The ethics officer's voice was measured.
Early retirement, but he's not facing criminal charges.
The officer explained the settlement. Richard would resign immediately, no public admission, but his career was finished.
It's not enough, but it's something. He'll never hurt anyone in that office again.
Across town, Pamela sat at her desk, filling out a check for $5,000.
Let this be the last reminder of what his money tried to buy.
She attached an itemized invoice. Ceremony sabotage coordination declined. Consulting fee invoiced. The envelope addressed to Richard dropped into a mailbox with a satisfying thud.
I don't feel victorious. I feel empty. He was the father I wanted to love.
Brian held her tighter. In the silence, they shared not triumph, but the weight of a broken family. As spring thawed into summer, Sandra and Brian reclaimed their home piece by piece, filling it with new photos and old furniture.
I never thought I'd say this, but the quiet feels earned.
We should celebrate properly. Not a wedding, but a promise. 5 years out.
Dad finally admitted Brian was good for me. He wants to mark a future we nearly lost, and I know exactly who to call.
Pamela's new office was bright, filled with botanical prints and the scent of fresh coffee.
We want you to plan our 5-year vow renewal. No one else could make it right.
I'd be honored. After everything, this feels like the real celebration.
You are family now, Pamela. This is as much your victory as ours. She's the same planner who saved our wedding. Now she'll celebrate our endurance.
They set the date, their laughter a testament to resilience, their trust in Pamela absolute. On a mild autumn afternoon, the private garden filled with soft harp music and the scent of late roses. Only 20 guests sat on wooden benches, and the seat where Richard might have been was unmissed. Brian stood at the arch, his eyes locked on Sandra as she walked toward him in a simple ivory dress.
5 years ago, I promised to love you. Today, I promise to always protect you. From everything.
And I promise to always stand beside you, no matter who tries to pull us apart.
Pamela, standing near the arch with her tablet, allowed herself a small private smile.
The music is perfect. The silence Richard wanted is buried. This is what victory looks like.
They exchanged new rings, thin bands of white gold, unadorned, symbolic of a trust forged in fire. When they kissed, the garden erupted in genuine applause, every clap an echo of survival. As the last guests mingled, Pamela caught Sandra's eye and gave the same tiny nod from years ago. This time it meant peace. 2 years later, on a crisp autumn evening, Pamela Cross stepped into her own fairy tale. The bride wore a sleek gown and a smile that had waited for this calm.
I once heard a voice in a hallway telling me to press play. That voice saved my life. Pamela, you taught me that trust can be recorded and loyalty can be worn like a body cam.
Pamela raised her glass, her eyes wet, and looked around at all the women who had kept her secret.
This is what I built my business for, to protect women from men like Richard Vance.
Sandra, her matron of honor, stood beside her, auburn waves catching the candlelight.
She's not just a planner. She's the sister I chose.
Pamela and Sandra linked arms with joyful women, confetti drifting around them as they laughed. The camera pulled back through the ballroom window, leaving the celebration glowing against the night. In their sunlit living room, Sandra and Brian kept a small collection of photographs on the mantel, each one a victory.
That one, the empty chair in the front row, it taught me that absence can be a gift.
The renewal 5 years later, with the woman who saved us standing nearby. Full circle.
Brian set the photo back and took Sandra's hand. No words were needed.
We never needed his approval. Just each other, and the people who showed up.
And the ones who hit record.
The AirPod that started it all sat in a glass box on the bookshelf, never to be forgotten, but no longer needed. Their future no longer required a body cam, only trust, freely given. Richard's legacy had crumbled, but Pamela's gift had built something unshakable. The house settled into dusk, and they sat together, no longer waiting for the next storm. Decades slipped by like pages in a well-loved book until Sandra's auburn waves were streaked with silver. Brian's temples had gone gray, but his hand still found hers on the armrest.
We survived a war before our marriage even started. And here we are, old and still smiling.
A young dog dozed at their feet, and the mantel now held graduation photos alongside the wedding frames.
Remember when we thought the sky was falling? It was just a bad cloud, wasn't it?
A bad cloud with a body camera, and a very good planner. I think we owe her a thank you card.
The glass box on the shelf still glinted, a relic of a battle they'd won together.
That little device gave us everything. It gave us truth.
Brian squeezed her hand, rose, and gently closed the box. They didn't need to open it anymore. Outside the window, the same sun set on a life not defined by revenge, but by resilience. On a bright spring morning, Pamela parked outside her expanded boutique, its new sign gleaming overhead. The polished letters read, "Cross Weddings and Events, a testament to the reputation she'd built on truth."
I started with a body cam and a clipboard. Now I run the most trusted wedding firm in the city.
She adjusted her blazer, the same cut she'd worn the night she recorded Richard Vance. Inside, the office hummed with assistants, managing a backlog of consults. Her credentials and certifications lined the walls, but the most important piece was a small framed photo. It showed her with Sandra and Brian, a candid shot from the vow renewal, years ago yet still fresh.
They called me their guardian. And now dozens of brides rely on that same promise.
A young woman peeked through the glass door, clutching a binder, and Pamela waved her in with a smile. The reflection of the sign in the window shimmered, a quiet emblem of everything that had risen from a single recording. In the quiet hallway of their home, a small shadow box hung on the wall, next to a faded wedding photograph. Inside the box, a single AirPod rested on velvet, forever silent but never empty. Next to it, a wedding photo showed Sandra and Brian, hands clasped, faces full of the morning they almost lost. The AirPod had captured a father's cruelty and a planner's courage, both in the same recording. They never removed it. They wanted the reminder that truth, once heard, can never be unsaid. On the day of Pamela's wedding, Sandra had touched the glass and smiled, feeling not trauma but gratitude. Sometimes the smallest objects carry the heaviest stories. This one had witnessed a bribe, a betrayal, and a brave woman's choice, all on a 17-minute file. It never played again, but its witness echoed across 3 lives. A single press had undone a lifetime of lies.